Hello and welcome. Belmont wishes to extend a warm welcome to everyone here and celebrate you with these achievements. While we practice safe behavior in this COVID environment, it is each of our responsibilities, but also
You may have also noticed that we have implemented a number of additional steps that have been taken to keep you safe while on campus. Please continue to wear your mask and remain seated unless you're at the podium, or asked to stand later in the ceremony. At the conclusion of the ceremony, we will be dismissing you by rows. Please remain seated until an usher dismisses you. Now the formalities out of the way. I wanted to personally welcome you to a unique and special day for all of you. As evident from these disclaimers just now, and the fact that this is probably not how you expected your graduation to be. In fact, some of you here, I know this is not even the campus or the university you expected your graduation to be at. And in fact, there are students here that started at O'Moore, at Watkins, and at Belmont. So, and perhaps all three, actually. So in the wake of that, let's not focus on the different programs and schools, but let's celebrate in the accomplishments that all of these talented students have achieved, especially after an incredibly challenging year. I also want to take a moment to personally think of all of the students here. In order to make the ceremony special to all of you and your family, I reached out to you earlier in the week to get images and self-reflection videos, and I know that essentially meant giving you one last homework assignment in the middle of finals. So that I apologize, but thank you for getting that to me. To the friends and family, thank you for being here today, and thank you for your support to these graduates. On a day like today, I'm reminded of a song from my childhood that our church used to sing at the end of every service. I will spare you not actually singing it. Trust me, you don't want me to. But it goes something like this. Now the service begins. Let our hearts go out into the world. My 5-year-old or so self didn't understand why at the end of the service we were talking about the service beginning. I just thought adults were crazy. However, I soon realized that we were to take the knowledge and wisdom that we gained and to go out into the world with love and compassion. I think that is a perfect analogy for today. Today is not only to celebrate the end of your academic career, and we should be celebrating that, but also to send you off into the world with the skills and talents you have refined over the past several years. Our job as artists and designers is to make sense of the world, to help communicate. And because of that, there's no better time for artists and designers. I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. Now, for an opening prayer, and please stand if you're able to. Lord, surround those who are graduating with your grace. Bless them with hope during these challenging times so they move into the future with eager and open hearts. Help them to use knowledge, skills, and insights gained from their education for the good of all. Inspire them to believe in the goodness of life. As they go from here, may they go into the world to spread love and compassion. All of this we ask in your name. Amen. And now, I think it's only right to say, now the service begins.
There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Next one. Let all that you do be done in love.
I'm going to check my ego at the door. I'm going to make something every day without passing judgment onto it or myself.
I hope to always collaborate with other artists in the future. I hope to bring positive change to my society in whatever I end up doing. And I hope to continue cherishing the present moment and valuing that throughout my life.
There are 3 things that I've come to learn. 1, don't hold yourself back from telling your story because you're afraid of what others might think. Sharing your story is so important, and there will always be people that support you and appreciate listening to your story. 2, don't let being perfect get in the way of being your most authentic self. And 3, as Pam Beasley said, there is a lot of beauty in ordinary things.
The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. Don't let yours go to waste.
You don't have to be someone. You can be anyone and do anything.
I'm kind of a big dork, but that's okay.
Throughout life, I hope to be inspired, learn, and make change in the world by making art and viewing art that others make.
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life.
Do what you want to do and live a fulfilling life.
Make sure you're keeping your head up out here. Don't back away from challenges. Don't be afraid of hard work, because it's just work. And remember, if you're grinding, you ain't got no choice but to shine.
Sorry.
Oh, that's great. Good afternoon, students, guests. Let me put this down. Students, guests, professors, administration, friends, and family. It's quite an honor to be up here in front of you and to have been asked to speak a little bit at your very significant moment in life. I just want here at the beginning to take a moment and recognize you and all of the hard work and attention and focus that each of you have given to get here in this room. So I want to give you a round of applause. Everybody join me. It's a lot of work. I remember college. It's not a small feat. I still have nightmares of never graduating, but somehow I did from here. So again, thank you to Watkins College of Art at Belmont for having me. Just to put some sort of context to who I am and why I'm here and why I'm speaking to you. I've had the pleasure of working with a number of you in this room, particularly in the past, working with both Watkins College of Art and the Belmont Art Department as separate entities, but now here together as one special school. Portfolio reviews, senior seminar, and sequential illustration classes at Watkins. I've had many connections and conversations with a few of you regarding your work and process, and it's always a joy and pleasure to see the art that has been created by such an amazing pool of thoughtful and creative students. Watkins College of Art at Belmont here together is such a valuable and beautiful pool of talent. There's something incredibly special when you can say, I'm a student, and that I also support my student. I'm devoting my years, energy, efforts, and money, and subsequent college loans for many, like me, to really learn what I can, to really prepare myself in whatever facet for life that I'd like to find. For some of you, it's been quite a journey, I'm sure, to get here, especially in this current climate that we've found ourselves in. And to be able to be here in this room on this day is quite an incredible achievement. So again, congratulations. For me, I've worked in the illustration and design industry for almost 16 years, beginning with my first job in publishing after college. I attended college here at Belmont. I lived in Heron Hall, hung out at Corner Court, if that's still a thing, schemed what will literally never be the great American graphic novel on the porch of Bongo Java across the street during the 10 o'clock hour. I took classes in the art program. I worked on the literary journal, was involved in the art association. I loved the creative energy I found here at Belmont. It was easy to find. There are so many corners where it exists. I've always loved art, and art has always been a part of my life. I grew up in a home that cultivated creativity, which I'm thankful for. My parents encouraged education in arts from an early age, and it's evident here, too, that you have some support. So I was lucky to be exposed to those things as I grew and developed. More on that in a little bit. A few years ago, I was asked to speak at Creative Mornings, which maybe some of you know or have attended. It's a monthly gathering in cities across the world, and what it is, like really put it simply, is a discussion of the creative process over coffee. Each month, the talk centralizes around a theme, and the morning I spoke, the theme was on survival, which feels very poignant today. Survival seems like a drastic word, right? Because it is. We have immediate images that conjure in our heads when we think of survival. It's almost like a primal thing. For me, I have like a very active imagination, so when I think of survival, I think of 1980s Marty Stouffer, Wild America. There was like a water buffalo that's being chased by a pack of wild lions. Will he survive? There it is. This fear, this necessity to get through something. So survival, by definition, is the state or fact of continuing to live and exist, typically in spite of an ordeal or difficult circumstance. Survival is different than maintaining. Maintaining is part of survival. It's an element of it. Survival to me is maintaining long enough so that growth, movement, and change can begin. Now for you, students, almost graduates, there's probably quite a few possible circumstances that you're trying to survive and maintain within right now, individually in your own lives, and as a collective whole together. The stress of the semester coming to an end, the semester, the final semester, your undergrad wrapping up, the wide expanse that is life and work post-college. Perhaps it's shapeless, perhaps it's starting to take form. The stress of looking for a job, heartaches, losses, mental health in this time, losses, death even. All very real talking points to this year in particular. And it feels super weird and super strange right now to be celebrating in a time of insurity, but that's a valid and real thing. And however, this day is something to cling to and wave your banner high. The truth is, life will always have struggles, big and small. Sometimes they come in full force like a locomotive, but sometimes there's an ebb and flow, and you have a little bit of a steadier footing when facing them. But struggle is part of the human experience, and survival is truly how we approach it and face it. And now, students, I'm going to speak to you as an artist, talking to artists. Beyond our human conditions, maintenance within could also mean the suffering through, and I often feel it in my career, and I'm sure you have felt it in these college years, the creative ruts, the lack of inspiration, perhaps community, discouragement, low funds, delay of funds. All of these things affect forward momentum. They can affect your process as artist, your creative thought, and output. In a world of endless images, social media, one-upness, our judgments and comparisons of ourselves to what we are ingesting and seeing can feel like an endless whirlpool. Comparison truly is the thief of joy. So maybe it is that we look to a way where we can figure out how to channel this energy by trying to maintain ourselves into something positive, to weigh our options, learn our boundaries, and that we can grow inside them, cultivate, and possibly stretch them once we're ready. Could we surprise ourselves with what we can create? Of the possibilities of bigger and better things. And I'm not meaning projects or jobs or paychecks even. I'm referring to the soul that we put into our work. Each of you here are because you are graduating art school, frankly, and at some point you made the decision to get up every morning to attend class, participate in your process, because somewhere inside of you, you felt the pull to listen, to learn something new, to gain new perspectives, new skills, to find and commiserate with your birds of a feather. And I'm going to pause right now just for a second because I really want you to hear something this evening. No matter what job you are in right now or will be going into after school, if you continue your education or you find yourself an artist or a designer working a 9-to-5, or you're having to find some other means of employment that is outside of your creative pursuit as you try to sort it out. And you get to a point where you're finding that the only time to work on your illustrations or paintings or film or photography, the only outlet is in the mornings or evenings, and you haven't found the time, and you're worried and stressed and anxious about it. Or, adversely, on the other hand, if perhaps you've landed the job or a project, or have found yourself carving your way into this fabric of design, illustration, architecture, web development, filmmaking, on and on and on. Fine arts, wherever you find yourself on the path today and in the distant future, know this. and this is going to be a little shot in the arm, that already you are unique in a way that a lot of people are not. Maybe you were aware of this. Maybe you weren't fully cognizant and just love looking at and making pretty things. But today, as I speak on it, I encourage you to really search within and remind yourself of the tiny spark that has led you on this whole journey thus far and has found us all here together in this room. Because if you don't give voice to it, you don't have that little creative anchor within, and when the going gets tough, it's going to be very tough to weather. More on that in a second. Some more personal anecdotes to kind of help with this. To go back, my college path was I moved to Nashville because I loved music and art. Here at Belmont, I became obsessed with small press publication by way of a business entrepreneurship class I took, and I had wild ideas of working in publication, thanks in part to the zines I would read at Tower Records on West End and an old Halcyon bookstore off of 12th Avenue, both of which are long gone. And certainly due to a company named McSweeney's Publishing, who was transformative in opening my eyes to details and wit and nuance and beauty and attention they bring to their publications. To see that art and attention realized out in the world was mind-rattling. I'm sure many of you have experienced this when you've seen an artist work on a gallery wall or you've watched a film where you felt completely transcendent. I wanted to work in publishing after school, and I eventually landed an internship that turned to a part-time job at a magazine as a designer. So it's cool if you don't see a clear path today at this moment. I have never felt clarity in the path that I'm taking. Sure, a lot of people can say that. I worked as a junior designer, and then I became an art director of the magazine I had found the job at. I was on a small business team for almost 7 years. So here the first element of survival comes into play. My time at the magazine was in a time when all magazines were dying. They still kind of are, but this was at the very beginning where they just kept dropping like flies. And we were very aware of that. We laid out each issue, the way we approached stories and content, the way we had to get creative to serve in a closing bookstore, closing newsstand, drop in subscribers, cost of print advertisement sort of way. We had minimal budgets due to all of these things, so we were constantly in survival mode. It's been years since working there, but I can still say I've carried that with me, those techniques as I move forward. It takes creative digestion and strategic approach. How do you sharpen yourself for the storms that come? I was also going through a fairly unstable personal time in my 20s right after college. I felt like everything at once. A relationship ending, there was sickness in my family. I felt incredibly burnt out creatively. My living situation was in upheaval. I was making questionable decisions. I saw trends within myself, getting lazy at my work, feeling distracted, feeling very uninspired. And in the middle of all this, I left that job. And so I began working for myself. Here we go. Survival mode kicks in. There was a little thing inside of me, aside from a barren bank account, that said, you have to get up and start moving and start focusing, stop sleeping, like stop taking sad naps, channel the worry and sadness and anger into something. How do you deal with it? I'm an artist. I have to create. That's how all masterpieces and love songs have come to be, if we want to be poetic about it. And I will, because we're all artists. Now, because I'm an illustrative-minded person that likes imaginative things, I'm trying so hard daily to keep this very thing alive, even now. So let's be open for a bit. We're in a safe place. We're not at our desk, and we're not at the conference rooms just yet. Let's imagine something. Remember when I said that little thing that's inside of you, the little spark? I had a friend who cleverly called it the wonder beast, which kind of reminds me of where the wild things are. So I have this image of this kind of stirring thing within. It sounds cheesy. You might have met a gentle beast, but they're still a beast. There's something primal that's being fed by fear and awareness, just like a plant cutting through a crack in the sidewalk or a seabird fighting through a storm to get food, like the albatross will hold steady through wind and rain to push through. And you know birds have different barometers that have conditioned themselves to survive the crazy storms and unexpected shifts and pressure. So how can we as artists do this? How can we condition ourselves where it becomes something almost natural to us? It's about shifting focus, becoming aware, and feeding not too much the wonder beast. So, quickly, some steps to maintain that within you. Don't let the name distract you, wonder beast. First, remember yourself. Remember yourself. What is it that makes you unique? What do you bring to the tables that others can't and don't? What skill or talent have you been blessed with or developed through work that is significant to you in your personal creative output? Remember it. If you have to write it down, draw, give yourself some space and time with it, and be kind to yourself in the process. To counter, look beyond yourself. Be aware of the world around you, the needs of others, the deficits where they exist. We'll go into that in a bit. Take risk. Tread lightly into new interests and skills, but go into them. Growth always happens in those moments. Maintain a sense of wonder. It's truly hard as you get older. Twofold, this means to not get caught up in the hustle. A slide of comparison, go outside. Nature is all around us. The cave people used to draw things they hunted. They were inspired to paint the very things they were surviving on. I'm sure it was also for historical record and worship or communication, but regardless. And feed the beast with all of these things, and its appetite will grow. The more you feed it, the more it wants. It will never be satiated if you keep this up, and that's the point. Never satiate the wonder beast. There's 2 tools you need to survive in the realm of the wonder beast. Awareness meter and a soul barometer. These are kind of what I've come up with, and I'm going to break them down a little bit. Firstly, an awareness that this too shall pass. This is a season in your life. It won't last forever, good and bad. Or if you feel yourself in a moment of significant change, as you're going through graduation, for instance, know that there's going to be grounding again. Or if you feel stuck, there will be movement again. Time is always moving, always healing, always there to carry you along. Secondly, with awareness, is to find empathy for others, and this goes hand in hand with my next point. But if you don't approach and treat others like you do yourself, you're not going to get very far. And I'm not sure if you've heard of this. It's also called the golden rule. It's something we've heard and been told all of our lives, but it truly is like the most meaningful thing. Pay attention to your surroundings. What is happening in the world, in your neighborhood, in the field that you're working? What can you do to play a part in helping or even abating, if needed, something to promote growth, change, and enhancement in other people's lives, of a community effort, of a project at work? When you look outside yourself, you'll start to see some really cool things. And number 4, under the awareness meter, be aware of how you're conducting business. Keep track of the details of your day. What is working, what isn't working? Remember as you move forward the important stuff like straight up costs, taxes, time, effort. And lastly, be self-aware and know that you have limits too. Sometimes you can't finish something. Sometimes you need to put your heart and head and health first. Self-sabotage is a very real thing. Essentially a step back to put a massive shift on perspective on your situation and the art that you're making. This will work in tandem with the second tool called the soul barometer, which I call the soul barometer. The honesty that you put into your working relationships. Be honest with how long something might take, your efforts and your capabilities. The honesty you put into work you give to a client or a job. Don't dial it in. Try your hardest to be fully present in what you're providing them. And find that balance of what you're bringing to what they are wanting. The approach you have, the time and the thought, this goes with everything just mentioned, but really try to carve out the best time and space for whatever you're working on. When you can do it, the presence and the soul and the work shines through. Know when enough is enough, which will extinguish the burnout feeling or the work that has been dialed in. You are human, you have limits. And most importantly, remember your ethics. Don't undersell yourself and especially others. Be honest in your conversations, how to conduct yourself in business and personal relationships on both ends of the spectrum of yourself, an employer, or a client. This is super huge. Create a space in your home and work. Create a place where you feel true and aware. Your work will reflect it. You will feel fulfilled. You will thrive. Research your craft. Look for peers and mentors who you can grow and learn from. Submerge yourself in further development of your trade. Water the plant, feed the beast, let it grow and thrive. Be good with your time. And lastly, with the soul barometer, be kind to yourself in this journey. It's not easy, it really isn't. But if you allow yourself grace, it's rich and fulfilling, not just on the arts level, but truly in your daily life. And like a ripple, the grace you give yourself radiates back into the work that you do and the people around you. If you have these instruments tuned, the wonder beast still salivating, unsatiated, then when a storm comes, these tools might bend, they might break, but you will be better equipped facing whatever comes. You'll find the adjustment you need more than if you had never had them at all. I have my daily complaints. I can feel myself in constant change and growth 15 years out of my own graduation, and you will too. In conclusion, with these words and your own initiatives, I hope you can maintain and orient yourselves as artists for what lies ahead. Arts and culture commentary critic Maria Popova said in an essay, quote, "The act of orienting, maintaining ourselves to the moment, to the world, to our own selves, is perhaps the most elusive art of all, and our attempts to master it often leaves us fumbling, frustrated, discombobulated. And yet therein lies our greatest capacity for growth and self-transcendence." I love that quote. But in this maintenance, in this journey, that you will find the true path of the artist. What exists in this room and in each of you graduating today is a role that is so beautiful and dire and important, especially in our evolving world. The arts are so critical. You as artists are so critical. Abstract thoughts, questions, the what ifs, the newness, all of these you bring with art as the key. All of these will have influence on the questions and observations of others. In closing, there's a paragraph from one of my favorite authors, Rebecca Solnit, from her book, A Field Guide to Getting Lost. The quote, "Certainly for artists of all stripes, the unknown, the idea or the form or the tale that has not yet arrived, is what must be found. It is the job of artists to open doors and invite in questions the unknown, the prophecies, the unfamiliar. It's where their work comes from, although its arrival signals the beginning of a long, disciplined process of making it their own. Scientists, too, as J. Oppenheimer once remarked, live always on the edge of mystery, the boundary of the unknown. But as the scientists transform the unknown into the known, they haul it in like fishermen. The artists are the ones that get us out to the dark sea." So graduates, take us there, help us imagine what can be, cultivate your work, take care of yourselves, and never satiate what lies within. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right, now it's time for the part that we've all been waiting for, to announce all the graduates here today. So when I announce your name, we will obviously not be walking across this stage, there's no stage. But when we announce your name, we will have work shown by each artist and each graduate. You're welcome to stand, and you're welcome to please clap for all the graduates, and then we'll just go through it that way. So. Destiny Carter. Kaylin Coffey. Joanna Davies. Olivia Fortune. Hannah Hutchinson. DeMarquell Jordan. Audrey Kessner. Danielle Long. Ashley Olafson. Esmeralda Ortiz del Villar. Ashlyn Tierney. Liz Wooten. Let's please give one more round of applause for all the graduates.
Please stand for the playing of the alma mater.
Belmont Hail, our alma mater, proudly we proclaim that all thy loyal sons and daughters shall uphold thy name with minds enlightened, hearts and noble spirits soaring high. May we go forth with faith eternal, thy name to magnify.
And as a reminder, we will be dismissing by rows after the ceremony. Please take your seats after the benediction and remain seated until an usher dismisses you. Good afternoon. My name is Dan Bronner, Professor of Practice at Watkins College of Art at Belmont. And I'm honored to be here to celebrate the resilience, creativity, and achievements of these emerging artists, designers, illustrators, photographers. I'm very pleased to wish them well and every blessing as they launch their professional careers. When Assistant Dean Stacy Bryan asked if I would give the benediction at commencement, I paused, and she probably read too much into that moment. I said I was flattered, but I asked if I could think about it and get back to her. And I'd never given a benediction before and wondered how I should approach it. So, of course, I Googled it. Please forgive me for reading, but if I don't, I'll start telling family stories, as my students know, and we'll be here all day. So I'll stick to my script. Because I would tell you about my grandmother Bronner, Cleo, a lifelong painter who loved Vincent van Gogh. I think of her when I smell turpentine. And my Uncle Herman, the interior designer, and Uncle Frank, the fine craftsman who made spinning wheels and grandfather clocks. And his wife, my Aunt Mary, who wasn't an artist, but she was always very tan. And stories about my brilliant father, a graphic designer, painter, and craftsman. And I would tell you, I was always and only encouraged to be an artist. So I'll stick to the script. Graduates, you've been through a lot this year. We've been through a lot. And many of us together, you've persevered, you've supported one another, and created excellent work with a sense of purpose and determination in spite of small and large obstacles. You've weathered literal and figurative storms, experienced trials and tribulations, frustration, and unimagined change. And yet you continue to make art. I remember meeting many of you at college preview days, reviewing your work at National Portfolio Days, transfer fairs, when you decided your current school wasn't really a good fit, or it was closing. I remember meeting many of you when you were considering going to art school. And I was so impressed that you had somehow convinced your families that art is a viable career path. And of course it is. A noble, winding, challenging, often frustrating, but endlessly rewarding path. Dedicating your life to observing, thinking, honing your art to inform and delight yourself and others. You are armed with real skills to shape and affect positive change in the world. And Lord knows we need you. So please go forth with all of our love and encouragement. You earned this degree. You should be very proud. You earn this honor, and you are required to put more good into the world. It is your homework. So in closing, and to quote the enigmatic Nashville art professor, Don Evans, go forth and do stuff. But first, please be seated.